Tanmoy.
Hi, Santhosh. How are you?
Welcome. Nice to have this chat with you. You know, it has been in planning for some time now, and finally, the time has come that we can have this chat. Uh, to all those who are watching this video, I'd like to uh, introduce Tanmoy. Tanmoy is the Group Head of Internal Audit and Risk Management in EGTC Group, based out of Equatorial Guinea. Tanmay, if you can, add to that introduction and give a background about yours so that it can help the viewers.
Yeah. um, as you correctly said, I'm currently working with EGTC Group, which is primarily based in Equatorial Guinea. And although they have their group companies in Equatorial Guinea and in parts of Africa, which is Cameroon, Benin, Congo, the group structure, if I may talk a little bit about it, is more into the retail and the wholesale sector. Plus, there is a manufacturing unit, and there is a shipping line business as well. So, what this internal audit department is supposed to do is overlook the auditing of all these group companies within EGTC, based in different locations, and reporting to the board of directors of the company. As far as mine is concerned, I have experience of more than 20 years in internal audit, risk management, fraud investigation, policies and procedures, compliances. I started my career in India, in Bombay specifically, and worked with companies like KPMG, Three Global Services, Global Telesystem, which are of various sectors, and that I think gave me a lot of experience in terms of various businesses, the nuisances of the businesses, and that's how I think I have been able to build my career in internal audit and risk management. And there is more to be done, in fact, with the change in the complexities and the dynamics of which has been going on in the world currently. And I think the topic that we are going to discuss today is so relevant to the changing dynamics. So good to have myself in this discussion. Thank you very much, Santhosh.
A pleasure to have
And
you on this discussion. So let's get straight into it. Our topic for today is internal audit as strategic partners. While the definition of the role of internal auditor itself says that it's a role that is all about giving assurance as well as taking up a consulting role. Uh, we are taking it up to the next level where we talk about the internal audit team being a strategic partner to the business. So how do you see that? What is your take on this role of internal auditors as strategic partners to the business?
well, you see, I mean, all along for so many years in the past, internal audit department as such has been treated as a cost center, and and it's more of mundane audits, is more of um, the back end, department within an organization, or for that matter, as an external audit, a back end activity for the board of directors. But now, I think with the changing times, this department has to prove, or they have started proving, that they are more than the cost centers. They are more of a valuable partner and a resource to the board of directors, to the CEO's office, um, to help and drive the company initiatives, with the changing times. And what I have seen through my experiences, the board of directors have started taking a note of this, and and understanding that internal auditors can bring much more into the core business rather than just being a spectator to the entire operations of the organization. So, and recently, if you talk about a year or so, not more, uh, times have completely changed, and the value addition of the audit department in terms of giving assurance on the strategic decisions of the board of directors has become so critical, that I think it is evolving like never before, this department. And yes, the board of directors are taking a note of this for sure. At the same time, I'm not saying that the auditor should be completely coming out of the routine audits, the risk assessment exercise. That's not what we are trying to do. What we are trying to say is keeping that activity within the activities of within the planning of internal audit. They should come out and participate and audit and give relevant recommendations in terms of the strategies of the company, and ensure that those have an action plan, and those are before being implemented, those are vetted through the internal audit department. And in my company, for sure, this is happening. Board of directors and CEO's office are in constant touch with us. It is not just for a particular audit or anything. In fact, um, the head of department, I, as a head of the department, is spending a considerable amount of time along with the board of directors, with the CEOs, to work in strategic matters. When I say work in strategic matters, it is not to conduct the strategic matters, but to be in sync with the CEO's office in terms of understanding their vision, their strategic points, and then giving through your experiences, giving your 100% participation, and confirming or otherwise of their decisions, and giving them the best solution, taking into consideration again the core aspects of our activity, which is the risk factor, which is the audit. So evolving, yes, it has evolved for the last 1 year. It has evolved like anything. We as auditors need to take advantage of this and ensure that we never come back to a stage where again we go back to a mundane audits. We be here at this stage as an important um, department within the organization, as an important strategic uh, vetting department within the organization, and work along with the CEO's office. I think that's very, very critical for us going forward and right now.
That's excellent. So, is it only about the board of directors or the internal auditors themselves realizing that the role of internal auditors is not only about assurance, and it is also about providing that strategic input, and it's very clear that there is no better consultant, strategic consultant to a business than an internal auditors, because they know the A to Z of things that are happening within the organization.
True.
So there is that advantage point that is there. So what I want to ask you is it only about this realization that internal auditors can be the best strategic advisors coming to the board, or the internal auditors themselves realizing this fact, or is it also about the internal audit team moving a step ahead and doing things that they were not doing so far, or doing things in a manner that they were not doing so far?
I think it's a mix of both that you have spoken about. The demand from the board, or the demand from the stakeholders, even the demand from the process owners, the head of the departments, the operational head of the departments, are very high. They don't like to be, you know, audited on a very, very operational, regular operational. I mean, they know it. I mean, it's not that they don't know it. They're also smart enough to know everything. So what they want is a more value addition in terms of their operations. Uh, Auditors, basically, if you see across the world globally, they're termed as like an internal police kind of guys. Whenever they go to the operations, they're like, okay, these guys have come. They've come to point out our mistakes. A very underlining statement which I've heard for the last
Definitely.
22,
Yeah,
25
correct.
years. They are the internal police. That's it. Nothing more than that. Here comes the role of an internal auditor to get in connect with the stakeholders. Now, what I mean by the stakeholders is the operations head, the GM of the organization, the production heads, the showroom heads. So what you do is you transform your department and yourself into a business partner. You tell them that, listen, I'm here to help you. Okay. Audit, yes, my department is named as audit, which I cannot change it, unfortunately. So, but not with the words that, okay, now from today we change from internal like policing work to a business partner. Not like that. That's not going to change. What you do is you correlate your activities with their activities in terms of, for example, a showroom audit. Just I'm giving an example. So when you go to the showroom and when you approach, when you have the first interview with the showroom manager, you give him a sense of feeling that I am not here to point out your mistakes. I'm here to help out with your process, with the business re-engineering, with the process re-engineering. You tell me, the first thing that I do is like, you tell me what are your gamut of problems, and let me see whether I can help you, or I can suggest you a kind of mitigation, or through a recommendation, and whether it can be implemented, and whether we can go ahead and see the change within your uh, particular department that works. Personally, that has worked for me. And uh, and more important is that connection between the audit department and all the sections of the company. It's not just purely for audit. What it has to happen is for, in a regular basis, on a absolutely day-to-day basis, the interaction should happen. uh, that's the reason I always say that, the scheduling part of it, there is no schedule right now. As a when you grow as a strategic partner, when you go as a business partner with the stakeholders, you can't schedule your audits. It becomes a concurrent kind of audit. It's a regular audit, day-to-day audit. Daily there is a feedback from the process owners, like, okay, we have a problem, this, how do we sort it out, or is this the best possible way to sort it out? Is this the most cost effective way for us to sort it out? When you get into these kind of discussions, and when you make the auditee feel, or the process owner feel, that he is not just to point out my mistakes. What he's telling me is he's trying to improve my department. He's trying to give me suggestions which probably can help me improve my processes, or my processes could perhaps become a more cost effective processes. This feeling is very, very important for auditors to give. I mean, otherwise, number one, it's audit department will not survive, because then it makes us a very kind of mundane, boring audits, and like age old 10 years back audit. So this feeling has to be given through the discussion, through the efforts, through the work you do, and ensure that you give a lot of value addition. Now, coming back to the question of whether do we still have a risk matrix, whether do we still have an audit report? Yes, we do have. We are not coming out of it, but the way of presenting these reports to the process owners is like, this is what we discussed, this is what we identified. So you and me together, it is not I, it is we identify, to give him a sense of feeling that you're part of my activity. I'm not detached from you. And then it gives him a lot of confidence. And then he's in a mindset of, let me welcome him and let me share with him my process, my activities, my issues, and since I have a probability of say 70-80% of mitigating those issues, I'm good. So there is a welcoming mode coming in. This I'm talking about from the individual process owners, and not only the board of directors. The board of directors is a different level. I mean, they would have a different kind of discussion. But when you have a discussion, as your question pointed out, how do we attach with the process owners, the first line people? I think this is the way, and this is proved. I mean, this is not something that I'm talking on a very theoretical mode. This is what we practice in EGTC, and that has really worked out well for us in terms of the discussions, in terms of the MIS reporting generated from these stakeholders, these process owners. So basically, it's a combination. It's coming together and working, and not just an audit per se. So that's where it makes the changes.
Excellent. To follow up on this, there are a couple of questions that, a couple of directions in which, I have questions. One is about, I'll go with the first one, which is the behavioral aspect. As you said, when the internal auditor walks in, uh, he is seen as someone who's going to challenge me, who's going to point out my mistakes. He's not a welcome person in my premises. That's generally that's the approach. So from
True.
there, to get that acceptance that okay, today there's an audit happening in my place, and that's an opportunity for me to see where I can do better, or that's an opportunity for me to present some of or share some of my challenges with someone who can offer me some good advice. And at the end of all of it, I may stand to get benefited. So this is actually a behavioral change. So this behavioral change, do you think it's going to be driven by, or it can be driven by the internal auditors, or is it something that has to be driven top down, maybe from the board of directors or from the CEO's office? How does it work, or how it worked for you? That may be helpful for you know a lot of others.
Yeah, I think let me put it how it worked for us. Um, for us, it was not a top down approach. It was more of the initiative from the audit department, from the audit team. Um, Practically, what we did is when I as a head of the department, when I was looking at the audits being done and the value addition that was being given to the management, I was not satisfied with it, because it was more of getting into the daily transactions, and very very simple audits, and very simple calendar based, program based audits, where you have no room for any strategic things, no room for value addition. So there was a lot of thought process within the team that we need to contribute more to the company. We can't just contribute to a particular department for a time frame and then come out of it and then we forget it and just issue follow-up reports and keep on issuing follow-up reports and showing the top management that, okay, listen, this guy is not replying me, this department is kind of a not inefficient department, and this department cannot work. I think that is a very wrong message that we give from our two ways. From our profession, that we keep on judging people. We keep on judging people, and which department is good, which department is bad. But have we ever gone to been in their shoes and understood the processes, and try to understand them and then try to work along with them? I think that has not happened, and that's a huge gap which has left over for the past so many decades. So what we did is we approached the management, we approached the board, saying that we want to change the strategy of our way of functioning, and this is what we want to do. And they say that, okay, let's start. I mean, fortunately, the board of directors were very cooperative, and they said that let's start with us, in the sense like board of directors. Let's see how it goes on, and we started with them. we started with them with very specific work activity like cost cutting exercises, the strategic decision making exercises. So we worked on that. The results were there in terms of what we wanted to give. And then we approach slowly the departments within the company, and which was difficult, which is very challenging, because the first mindset is like, again, audit in my department. Uh, I mean, the first thing that they would ask is like, how many days you're here, because it's like, okay, they're here for 15 days means my life is screwed up like that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then you have to, but from the beginning, when you have to give them an assurance that, okay, here, let's talk, let's discuss, let's not get into any audit reports, let's not get into any risk assessment, let's talk. What are the issues that you're facing? What are the things? And then it starts flowing, the list starts flowing. I have, because of this process, I have this problem, the customer related problem, the feedback, the inventory problem, the supply chain management issue. And then you pick up the most difficult among this problem and try to talk to them and resolve it. If you can resolve, it's done. But even if you cannot resolve, and if you get to an extent where you give them an assurance that, look, I'm here to audit, but I'm not here to judge you, I'm here to work with you, that makes a difference. So I think initiative, proactiveness from the audit department is very, very, very critical. Um, if, if the board of directors and the management have to come and tell the audit department that, let's start, you be my strategic partner, which will never happen, because board of directors wouldn't come to an audit department and say, let's work together. It is the audit department who have to take the initiative and go approach the board of directors, approach your stakeholders, approach your process owners, auditees, and ensure that you build that kind of a universe where they feel that they're part of me. They're not separate. Um, so this way, you build a structure, you build an environment where they open up, and when they open up, you have a list of issues, and you can resolve those issues whichever you can. But what even if you cannot resolve an issue, it also gives them an assurance that, okay, he's part of me, he's here to help me, he is not my kind of internal police guy. So yes, the approach has to be from audit department for sure.
You've nicely put it across, than getting someone to enforce this. It is for the internal audit team to assume that role and sell that
True.
to different stakeholders so that you know that the journey can be as smooth as it can be. So also, not only about this realization that we have to be the strategic partners, it also has to behaviorally reflect on the internal auditors when they interact with their clients who are the auditees for that matter. So that's one aspect of what I wanted to follow up on our previous conversation. So then my next question would be, operationally, how does this become possible? Because when we speak to chief audit executives or head of internal audits, we hear that there is a lot of operational challenge. There are a lot of operational tasks that needs to be done by the internal audit department, and a lot of time gets sucked into that. And therefore, even if they want to, even if at a concept level, as you said, uh, you know I'm an internal auditor, my mind says that I need to do more. I need to move in the direction of this strategic partner to the business, but I'm not able to do that because a lot of my time gets sucked into operational activities uh, revolving around the assurance part. I'm not able to move beyond that. So then, what's your take on that? How did it happen for you? Will digitalization, do you think, add value? Because then it takes away the what do you call a lot of the mundane operational activities and then gives time to the auditor to get into other things. So do you think that's what has helped you, or that's what will help others, getting this thing, the operational part of the audit digitalized, and rather than spending more time in the operational activities, spending that time in analyzing the responses, analyzing the results, which then will help the internal auditor to give that strategic advice to the board.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're very right when you say that most of the time the audit department, the team spends in the operational activity. How do you come out of this? The only solution, as you correctly said, is digitalization of audit. Yes, we have done that. We have a dynamic software which works within the company for the operations, including the accounting and finance. And there are very, very customized reports which gets generated from that. For example, a simple example about a payment voucher. Let's just take an example. When we talk about a payment voucher, I don't expect the team to get into each and every payment voucher and check and uh, give an assurance that it's right, wrong, whatever. I don't want them to do. What we do, we have a system, ERP, we have reports, we have the reports. So we have customized reports, how it can be generated. The bare minimum time spent is like take a report, take a printout of the report, go through the expenses. If you feel that there is something wrong, um, or there's a very high value payment or something, take it up and just do an audit of it. We should not get into too much into the operations unless there's an alarm that there is some issue with this transaction. How do we know that? It's the only way is digitalization of the entire company, the audit department. Again, audit department is part of it because when a software is implemented in the company, what we did it is like we have a module of audit within the software, and it gives us customized reports of all the operations within the company. So basically the audit team is always one hand ahead of everything in terms of knowing what is going on where. And through the experiences of working within the operations, we know that which transaction should be where and how it should work. you know and if we find within the reports that it's not going to work, or it's something which is very alarming, something which is should not happen within the system but it happened, there is a very customized investigation on that. But getting into we have to reduce the time of getting into the mundane audits. For example, I know many auditors who every day they do a cash verification check. I mean, you don't need to do a cash verification check every day. I mean, if there is something wrong, you need to have the controls within the process with the digitalization, within the digitalization process, to know that okay, there is an issue, and hence I need to get into the cash. So yes, you need to have a software, which is very important. You need to have controls within the software. You need to have the right reports generated so that it gives you the bare minimum time of getting into those operational field, and you can focus on the more, the strategic fields, or focus on more enhancing the operations. That is where the core of the business lies. So yes, digitalization helps a lot, and it I think I don't have any other kind of alternative to a digitalization. It is the digitalization which is going to help. It is because so many things are related to digitalization, the reporting structure, the controls part of it, everything is inbuilt to it, for all the operations. So when we talk about controls, when you talk about risk, we know what are the risks because that's what we have done. And in case of any kind of alarming transactions or alarming operational issues, we come to know that through the reports. So that's how the reporting, again, the reporting structure builder, you should know how to generate the report, more time into the analyst and the statistics part of the thing. Like, for example, you see which month the sales have gone up, sales have gone down, sales returns are happening, which month are more, which month less. You don't need to get into each and every voucher of or an invoice of a sales return and check whether it is right or wrong. I mean, leave it to the process owners to do that job. What you need to analyze is that transaction has happened, how it has happened, how accurately it has happened, whether everything is genuine, whether there is any room for enhancement. Those things you need to look into it. So the perspective also has to change with this. Uh, sorry, the digitalization part of it. So yes, it's a collective work, but yes, digitalization plays a very vital role in the entire organization universe and the audit universe for sure.
Great. So, what you're saying is that more than getting into 100% of the samples, pick up the right samples, pick up the right trends, use them to
True.
select the samples, and then do your, deep dive,
Right.
then your, control testing, and that is going to help much more. That's how you're saying, and with a digital system in place, a lot of operational activities can get can be get ridden off. So now coming back, we have discussed what, how, when, and who of this whole aspect of internal audit as strategic partners. What we explained that how you nicely put forward when it's as of yesterday, the earliest you start thinking in that direction, it's best for in your own interest and for the organization's interest. And who you've said that it is going to be led, it's a behavioral aspect, it has to be led by the internal audit. Now my last part of the discussion, I would like to focus around the why. What are the advantages, or why do you think it has to move into this direction from as you said, very operational, very straightforward assurance related activities to this strategic partnership role? What are the benefits, or why should an organization think about it? There are four parts to it, and if we can briefly touch upon each of those. What is the benefit to the internal audit team? What is the benefit to the business? When I say business, the auditees, the mid to higher management level. What is the benefit to the board of directors? And last but not the least, how does the stakeholder get to benefit from all of this? Because that's at the core.
See, my answer would be a collective answer of all the four sections, because those are very interrelated within each other. Um, See, first of all, we need to understand one thing, that audit is uh, not a mandatory for all companies. So some companies have the option of not having an audit and internal audit and having a straight statutory audit. Now, to survive and to have this audit department, I think it is imperative now that we get into something which the board, the stakeholders, the process owners feel that it is important for us. I think if they start feeling that it is no more important for us, they would perhaps feel that we don't need it anymore. Because remember that there is a lot of huge cost which comes with the audit team, because the team structure, normally in an organization, a mid-size organization, you would see around, say, a team of, say, 5 or 6 auditors plus the business head, and it costs a lot. With the recent pandemic and with the recent many other situations which have happened for the last 1.5 years or so, companies are trying to reduce cost. And
Everything is
fortunately,
seen through a
yeah,
cost filter. Yeah.
right. So fortunately, it has not touched upon the audit department per se. But if this is the way we as auditors are going to work in a very regular and mundane audits with no value addition as such, or maybe very less value addition, it's not going to survive over a period of time for sure. So I think this is the right time for us to evolve from that, take one step ahead, and connect, as we discussed, with the stakeholders, with the process owners, and to make them, give them a product that they feel that this is so important for me. You know, give them a product which they feel that I can't survive with. I mean, this is what it is. To focus. So how do you do that? So, so I think it is very important for us to give them an assurance that we are one step ahead. We have come out of our mundane audits. We have come out of our regular audits, keeping also that assurance part. We are not saying that we totally, withdraw from the assurance and everything. We're not saying that. But the idea is to give that level of confidence to the board of directors, to the CEO's office, to the stakeholders, to the process owners, and tell them that we can do much more in terms of just being auditors, uh, and that much more will come only when you do a lot of research, a lot of due diligence on the processes, um, a lot of analytics, which you can study and present to the stakeholders. The most important part now is, I think, the cost cutting part, and it's a classic example that we have kind of we are working with the CEO's office in our cost cutting exercise within the company. There has been a request from the CEO's office to work on the cost cutting of overhead expenses or identify the cost and everything, which also needs, it's not a very straightforward thing, which also needs a lot of analytical mind to identify where all I can do and what all I can do, which again falls into the bracket of the audit per se, of the operational audit, of the process re-engineering, because if you don't study, then you cannot kind of find out the effective way of doing this exercise. So yes, it is the again coming back to the benefits of working and coming out of the audit reports and structure and doing something different, which is which is more of a value addition to the board, to the CEOs. And how this value addition happens, it's for sure it is through a strategic audit or strategic partnership, or more and more involvement with your process owners, and not just getting involved for a certain period of time for an audit. um, Studying the processes, studying the sub processes, studying the supply chain management. um, for example, there has been a very recent issue of a Suez Canal ship block, and one of our companies, a shipping company, and they are more into the stevedoring business in Equatorial Guinea. And the moment this happened, I connected with them, with the head of the company, and said that, okay, listen, these things have happened. Um, what is the effect with us? How we are getting affected? The moment I talk to him like this, he feels that, okay, why is he asking? Maybe he wants to help me. And then I have to mention, okay, because I want to be with you. I want to find out what are the issues, and probably we can resolve the issues together. And he immediately he clicked in. I mean, there was no second thought on it. And we discussed what are the issues, how delays the containers will be, how is it going to affect us financially, business wise, operations wise, everything we discussed. And we try to come out with a solution that this steps needs to be taken to ensure that we don't get into those kind of situation. And then collectively, the audit department and the business head, we reported to the board of directors saying that this is what we discussed, this is what are the steps that we came up with, this is what is we need to do. It's never that audit department has suggested and we observe that and we find that and those kind of things. We don't get into that. It's us together. This is what we need to do, this is how we need to mitigate the risk. What happens is, we still do our job as an auditor, we still do our job as a risk manager. At the same time, we ensure that the process owners are with us, so they feel that, okay, there's a value addition between us. It's a cooperation, it's a cooperative exercise. It's not a standalone exercise of he comes and does some audit and goes away. that gives a lot of confidence, a lot of confidence. Kind of in business we talk about empathy in business. I think it's a good way. It's also a mix of that empathy with the process owners. Get in touch with him, talk to him, discuss and find out the ways and means, and then collectively go to the board of directors and say that this is what it is, this is what we need to do. So what happens is the whole universe surrounding you have a great amount of um, the sense of feeling together, as and not an outsider, a sense of giving that, okay, these guys are giving some value addition to the business. These guys are not giving me headache in terms of always fighting with their process owners. So there's some constructive work happening within the system, within the universe. It helps a lot. I mean, this is our experience how we have done it, and this is the very recent thing that we have done that. And that gives a lot of confidence to everybody, to the stakeholders, to the process owners, to the board, to the CEO's office, everybody. It works well. So I think this is that perhaps we could think of the best way of doing the things and getting along within the success of audit department.
So to sum up, you know, it is about the internal audit team evolving from a cost center to a value center, uh, to put it across in a different way. So it's going to benefit the auditee for sure. As you said, uh, the more they share with the internal auditors, the more they get to benefit in
True.
terms of strategic advice. And as I said, there is no one other than the internal auditor who knows the inside out of everything that's happening within the organization, who can come up and give that kind of advice. And all of this happening, obviously, the board of directors gets more valuable inputs, and obviously, uh, you know, it is the stakeholder who's going to benefit from all of these. So, it's a very, very interesting conversation, that we had. And I think in these times, uh, it is in this direction that we have to move. And you've touched upon very, very interesting aspects. Not sticking only to what and why. You've also touched upon the how part of it, which is the as we said, the operational behavior aspect of how an internal audit team can drive the organization to this thought process. So, I find this conversation very, very interesting, and I'm very sure that whoever is watching us will also find a lot of value from this conversation. Uh,
True, absolutely.
Tanmay, I guess this was a very, very interesting conversation, and an interesting topic also, so to say, and uh, a topic that is a need of the hour. You know, from the internal audit perspective, it is in this direction that the entire practice has to move now. And I'm very happy about the kind of discussion we had, the kind of areas we touched. I think at a macro level, we discussed uh, the idea much in detail. And somehow I'm getting a feeling that there should be a part two to this. We should dive into some of the micro aspects, especially about the implementation of this overall thought process. you know Operationally, how to
Yep.
do this, what do you call, take this journey of internal audit as strategic partners. Does it also involve taking up new audits, which maybe we can term as strategic audits? Does it involve some bit of analytics? Does it involve, what kind of data collection techniques? What kind of analyzing techniques? So I think we need to dive deeper into that and have more micro level discussion. I guess we'll do that as a follow up discussion in one more session. But Tanmay, very happy to have you in this discussion, and you've put across some extremely valuable insights on this topic of the day. So, words fall short of expressing our thanks to you for the kind of value that you have added through this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me here. I think it was a fantastic conversation, because this is going forward is going to be the way of life for all auditors, whether we accept it or we don't accept it at this point of time. But yes, going forward, this is going to be the way of life. So thank you very, very much for having me here. And yes, I'm looking forward to the part two because it will be more interesting in terms of the actual implementation for sure.
Uh, So, nice way to put it forward. Whether you like it or not, this is the way forward. The change is going to be there. Whether you embrace it and move forward or be challenged by it is your call. So that's a nice way to sum up
Yeah.
the discussion. Thanks, Tanmay. We'll again, we'll meet again and we'll discuss the part two of internal auditors, strategic partners, diving deeper into the micro aspects. Thanks a lot, Tanmay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.